That's sweat, okay? Welcome to Unorthodox Orthdox Judaism, a.k.a. stuff not taught in Yeshiva, where mainstream Judaism practices are challenged in order to restore a more authentic Judaism. Today I want to speak about the reason for the season of Sukkot. I have gotten back from cycling a little while ago. I went shopping and I'm quite sweaty. I have not yet showered. I plan to do that after the video because the sweat is relevant for a point I want to make shortly. I am standing now in the Sukkah, in the hut that my Grandpa Harry, built 57 years ago. The reason for the festival of Sukkot, the festival of huts, which is a 7-day festival in which we are now in the middle, the name for the festival comes from the commandment to dwell in such huts. The commandment, which is originally recorded, shown in Leviticus, is printed behind me, and I can translate. In huts you shall dwell for 7 days. All the natives in Israel shall dwell in huts, so that you shall know for your generations that I put the children of Israel in huts when I took them out of the land of Egypt. And that is the Lord speaking about the Exodus and the Israelites dwelling in huts for the 40-year Exodus. A question which arises sometimes is, why, if the huts are symbolic of the huts, if the huts of today and every year are symbolic of the huts of the Exodus, why do we dwell on them now instead of the time of the Exodus, instead of the spring? Okay, so the first issue is that the Exodus, yes, it began in the spring, but it was a 40-year event. So it makes sense to dwell in huts any time of year. Not just specifically at the time of the Exodus. But even so, the most common answer given is that this time of year, it's getting chilly, and we show that we love fulfilling God's commandments no matter what, and we're not afraid to leave the comfort of our houses and dwell outside in Sukkot in the cold. That's sweat, okay? I went shopping before. I got back, it was 37 centigrade. That's I think 96 or 98 degrees Fahrenheit. Tomorrow's supposed to be 104. It's not cold. Maybe in Poland it was cold this time of year, and yeah, Brooklyn sometimes also. So that's probably where this whole notion was started and has been propagated and has been continued. But in Israel, in Canaan, in the Levant, whatever you want to call it, where this commandment was originally intended to be kept and continued to be kept, it's not cold this time of year. That whole idea is clearly nonsense. And there's an expression, there's Shivim Panim LaTorah, there's 70 faces to the Torah, there's 70 ways to interpret a verse in the Torah, in the Bible. I expand upon that expression to say, sure, there's 70 ways to interpret a verse, but 69 of them are wrong. Okay, so then why are we dwelling in huts now in the fall? All right, so key word here is Ezrach, the natives. So this isn't the answer, right? This actually just helps explain it a little bit further. There are 3 festivals throughout the year in which the Israelites are commanded to come, at least the males, can bring family if they want, to come to first the tabernacle, but then it was replaced by the temple, to show their faces for the holiday. Where did these people stay? The houses probably didn't have room for the entire nation. Okay, so these people probably in the streets of Jerusalem, where the temple last stood, probably built huts, like these huts, the huts of the Exodus. So the commandment then is all the natives of Israel. What's meant by natives? Well, the temple stood, the tabernacle stood several places before the temple was built in Jerusalem. So wherever that place was, those people, whoever dwell there, are referred to as the natives, because, at least according to me, because you don't have to build a hut if you just got to walk for 3 minutes to go to visit the temple, right? But the commandment for Sukkot, for the festival of booths, is Kol Hazrach B'Yisrael. Even the natives have to go and leave their houses and dwell in huts. Okay, so that does not answer your question, but it just shows that the concept of dwelling in huts is a year-long thing, not year-long, but 3 times a year thing. But specifically, why are the Israelites commanded, even the natives, to dwell in huts this time of year? So I sort of alluded to this in a previous video called Staying Up All Night of Shavuot, where I discuss how the real reason for Shavuot has nothing to do with the 40-year giving of the law, has nothing to do with the revelation, but rather it's a sanctification of the pre-existing pagan holiday of the festival of harvest, of harvesting of the grain, Chag HaKatzir. So basically, my notion there is that the same way that I imagine that the Lord said something along the lines of, "Go ahead and keep your festival of harvest," and I'm assuming all of the Semitic nations and other nations surrounding them kept a similar holiday. So that was my side note. But so I feel like the Lord said, "Go ahead and keep this festival, but sanctify it to me. Go ahead and keep this festival, but come show your face at the temple. Go ahead and keep this festival, but bring these offerings. Go ahead and keep the festival, but remember the Exodus." So too, the Chag HaSukkot, the same way how Chag HaShavuot had an earlier name of Chag HaKatzir, the same way how the Feast of Weeks had an earlier name of the Festival of Harvest, so too the Feast of Booths, Chag HaSukkot, had an earlier name of Chag HaAsif, the Festival of Ingathering. What is being ingathered? Grapes, pomegranates, olives, dates, and figs are all in season now. So basically, when these crops are being harvested as a way to give thanks to the Lord, this festival is observed and was and perhaps is still observed by other people to thank their other nations, to thank false gods. But so same way how the Feast of Gathering of the Grain was elevated, was sanctified to be an Israelite concept rather than purely pagan, the Feast of Ingathering, Chag HaSif, was sanctified. So I feel like the Lord said there, "Go ahead and keep your ingathering festival, but sanctify it to me. Go ahead and keep your festival, but bring these offerings. Go ahead and keep your festival, but come to the temple. Go ahead and keep the festival, but remember the Exodus by dwelling in the huts." So the festival of ingathering predated Israelite religion, but the elevation, the sanctification, via showing one's face at the temple, bringing the offerings, remembering the Exodus by dwelling in huts. That's the grape, olive, date, fig, and pomegranate on top. Chag Sameach, happy holiday.